Life is all about choices. And I feel like where we currently stand in life is often a reflection of our choices and the decisions that we made, and they have led us to essentially where we are. And I don't say that in a way to make you feel bad about yourself or negative talk yourself or even feel ashamed or guilty, but I just say that in a sense of that's the reality of our lives. So where we are is currently a reflection of the decisions that we've made that has led us up until this point. And I kind of wrote down this quote as I was thinking about this video, and it's that we could either go through the discomfort of making changes in our life or go through the discomfort of remaining comfortable where we are. And what that goes to say is just like when we remain where we are and what is our routine and what is our comfort zone and what is our, what is just the norm for us, basically, whether that's certain relationships, whether that's certain choices, whether that's certain habits. We can either deal with the discomfort and the cost of remaining in those places doing those same things, or go through the discomfort of what it takes to actually change. I feel like a lot of us, we get in this place to where we see the results of being where we are, and we often like to complain. We're big complainers about, oh, I wish things were different. Oh, I wish things were this way. Oh, I wish, I was in this better circumstance. And we almost complain as if we aren't the ones that control where we end up being in life. And, obviously, there's college, there's high school, there's levels to life to where we have control over different things. But I think in the end, we have to stop giving the world so much power over ourselves. And, I think it's oftentimes not even our fault. I think a lot of the world and social media, it's very easy to place limitations on yourself for what you believe that you can and can't do in this world. I also think there's a problem with a lot of us just lacking discipline, a lot of us lacking quote unquote motivation. I think there's a lot of us lacking clarity in where we're even trying to go. We just see the results for where we are, and we know we want things to change, but we don't even know what what we want them to turn into, nor the steps that need to be taken in order to actually get to where we're trying to be. But I say this all the time as a newly 22-year-old that your life is kind of in your hands. Your life, nothing changes in it unless you make the decision to change in it. And obviously, like, my journey is going to be different from a lot of you guys' journey. I know I got people who are 25, 30 years old watching this video, and you might just now be realizing or recognizing the areas within your life that you need to change. And again, each of us are on our own journeys and are at different points in it. And I don't think we should ever feel ashamed for where we are, because, some of us haven't learned better. Some of us, we didn't have the proper guidance. Some of us, we haven't been through certain experiences that sparked us to even want to change things within ourselves. But I think, again, we have to realize that, where we are doesn't have to be a reflection of where we'll forever be, or where we are doesn't limit where we're capable of going. Again, I'm 22 years old, and so I'm very fairly young for what I do, what I talk about, where my mindset is. And a lot of people look at me and they're like, oh, you shouldn't even know how to do this. So I'm surprised that you even think in this type of way. And it's like, bro, I saw where I was. I saw myself at a rock bottom point when I was 18 years old, and I didn't like where I was, and I decided to make change about it. I decided to do research. I started to invest in myself. I started learning how to be alone. And where I am now is now a reflection of those choices. Now I have wisdom. Now I have understanding of where I am. Now I have the ability to coach people and, give great advice to people who are 50 years old and no less than me about self-worth, self-improvement, healing, and all these other aspects of life. And real quick, as you go through this video, be sure to leave a like as well as subscribe to the channel and join the Keep It Real fam. And be sure to leave a comment down below on some takeaways you've had so far from the video. And so it's not necessarily like where you are sets a limit on you. It's more so like, what choices are you going to make to break those limits? What choices are you going to make to be able to get yourself to, again, where you want to be? And, I think when you look at it from a life perspective, like, again, it's the choices that you've made that will reflect where you are in life, even in your relationships, even in the decisions in the habits and the boundaries that you have in your life. And so many of you are in a situation where you might be dealing with toxic people, or you're not, again, like, happy with where you are, or maybe like you want to change, but then every single day you wake up and you don't make any change. And I could say I've been there before. There's things within my life currently where I said at the beginning of the year I was going to do it and I haven't done it. And I think it's so important to honestly give yourself that grace, but also not create this crazy high expectation for yourself. I'm a person where I dang near like overload my days because I try to get so much done to the point that I always fall short because I just set dang near unrealistic goals, unrealistic systems, unrealistic expectations for myself as a human. But, again, change is something that happens over time. But oftentimes we never want to develop the consistency to be able to ever see those changes, to be able to ever see something different within our life. And again, I say that in relationships, in our relationship with ourselves, in our friendships, in our boundaries, in the respect that we have for ourselves, and the love that we have for ourselves. I think it's so easy to constantly look at where you are or the results that you get and automatically assume this is just how life is going to be. Again, as if we have no power to change our circumstances, as if we don't have the power to be able to let people go and be able to walk away from certain situations, to be able to make different choices on a day-to-day basis to eventually get us in a different position in our lives. I often think that a lot of us, we kind of wait for the world to adapt to where we are. I was talking to a client like more recently, and I was like, you're one of those people where you just want everybody to kind of accustom to your insecurities. You want them to accustom to what's uncomfortable to you. You want them to basically like come to you and adapt to your life and be who you want them to be. And that's just not simply how the world works around us. Like, the world is one of those things where it'll never adapt to us. So instead we kind of have to adapt who we are to best suit us for how we show up in the world, essentially. Or like, we have to look at how the world is set up and find our way to be that best version of ourselves in the world. We can't expect YouTube videos to heal us. We can't expect everybody to always be nice to us and to always, take into account all of our trauma and our past struggles and our insecurities and, not speak to us in a certain way or not do certain things to us that, will bring us pain and stuff. Like, we can't carry that expectation with us. At some point, we have to take control of our lives and say, okay, how do I need to build myself up so that I'm better suited to be able to face the world, regardless of, whether people accept me, reject me, whether people give me grace or whatever, whether people forgive me or not. I think, like, again, it's so important, the choices and decisions that you make, because the world isn't going to heal you. You can watch this video, but you can continue to go out in the world and live the same life that you've been living, but then carry an expectation of wondering why things aren't changing. It's because you aren't applying any type of actions to get yourself a new result. You can have all the knowledge in the world. You can watch a million YouTube videos and then wonder why you've been reading all these books and why nothing's changing. And it's because at the end of the day, you're the only one who can change your life. You're the only one who can change your circumstances. You're the only one who can make your life look different and change your experience in it, whether that's through your mindset, whether that's through your boundaries, whether that's through the people you decide to let go of, whether that's through who you do and don't get yourself in relationships with anymore, whether that's the relationship that you build with yourself and the mindset shift that you have within yourself. I think a lot of these things are choices that you have to actively decide to make on a day-to-day basis. Because I'll tell you now, like, the world is truly like a ruthless place. Like, the world doesn't stop for us. The world barely has sympathy for us. And so we got to find a way to give ourselves that grace, but also be responsible for our own lives and stop waiting for our circumstances to change. Stop waiting for our relationships to change. Like, at some point, we got to make a decision for ourselves instead of waiting for a decision to be made for us. I think a lot of times we get in this place of indecisiveness where we just almost like wait for things to work themselves out, especially in our relationships. We almost like get to a standstill where we're so indecisive to where we just stand still. Like, we're okay with unclarity. We're okay with this push-pull. We're okay with people deciding to be in our lives whenever they choose to want to be in our lives. And then we get in this place where we complain about the pain that is bringing us. We get in this place where, we're complaining about, them not showing up in the way that we need them to show up, or them not committing to us, or, them just not being a type of way, basically. And I think again, we just give other people the power to determine our peace, determine our happiness, determine the direction in which we go in our life, instead of making a choice or, making a change for ourselves. We could sit here all day, every day, and complain about the people we have within our lives, the pain that they're bringing us, and how is disturbing our peace. But then every single day we continue to choose to allow that person to reach out to us. We choose to allow that person to have access to us. We choose to not walk away. We choose to keep reaching out. We choose to continue to hold the door open, waiting for them to knock on the door, holding on to hope and things like that. And it's like, until you make a decision, again, nothing will ever change. We choose to continue to not set boundaries. We can choose to continue to keep running from fear. We choose to continue to keep running from, again, discomfort. Because you have to understand, like, especially for my people who are like people pleasers, especially for my people who chase love, there's an aspect of your life that you have to change where, you develop a sense of self-love, where you stop feeding into your feelings and your urges, and you have to be able to almost develop a self-control to stop giving into your feelings and your emotions. Because I'm not gonna lie, like, in the process of change, you will always be forced with the temptation of going back to your old habits. You will always be forced with the temptation of repeating the same cycles in which you used to repeat, as in reaching out to people whenever you felt the urge to, or letting people back in whenever they decided to reach out, or letting people cross your boundaries, not speaking up for yourself. Like, these things are fears. These things are uncomfortable for us. It's uncomfortable for us to say no. It's uncomfortable for us to create boundaries. It's uncomfortable for us to voice our feelings and our opinions and stuff. But when you understand, like, what it's costing you to be that people pleaser, what it's costing you to be that person who never shows up for themselves, what it's costing you to keep allowing this person into your life, at some point, again, you have to make a decision to start changing something for yourself. You have to make a decision to start enforcing some type of boundary. At some point, you have to get tired and realize that enough is enough, and just, again, like, make a decision regardless of how you feel, even if it is uncomfortable, even if it does mean you facing rejection, even if it does mean you losing a person, because you have too much love and too much respect for yourself to keep allowing yourself to remain in a situation that brings you nothing but suffering and makes you complain at the end of the day of the pain you're going through. But then you continue to, again, choose to repeat the same cycle over and over and over. Nothing will ever change for you until you start making those changes within your life. And the main thing I really just want you to take away from this video is to stop complaining and really start taking action. I think a lot of times, again, we just spend so much time complaining about where we are that we never do anything about where we are. And so it's like, at some point, you got to look at your life and realize the power and the role that you play in it and in your circumstances and what they currently look like, and be like, okay, what do I need to do differently to change my circumstances? Whether it's your relationships, whether it's going after your dreams, whether it's just, again, wanting your life to look different in some way, shape, or form. At some point, you got to take some type of responsibility and realize that you're going to be the one that has to change it. But I love and appreciate you guys as always. Be sure to check out my one-on-one coaching down below in the description, as well as leave some comments down below on some takeaways you have from the video. And I'm gonna catch you guys in the next video. Peace.